G'day all. So, I'm going to try my first YouTube channel, and uploading takes 48 hours or 24 hours before you can live stream. I've just got a microphone and I've got to work out, I can't share screen with the camera on the laptop. I believe you can share screen when you're on YouTube. Otherwise I might have to get some hardware to do that. So the channel, I'm hoping and will be discussing truth, meditation, law, authority, or presumption of law and presumption of authority, God and the KJV Bible 1611 and our Constitution, how that all ties in, and then Commonwealth Custodians group, which a beautiful man by the name of Keith Charles has got up and running, the Commonwealth Custodian group. It's only $10 a month, guys, and from everything I've been following over the years, it's brought me the closest to remedy that I've seen so far. And I'm saying close only because I don't have the final court order in my hand. Not many people would know, but I have had everything dismissed in the family court. Few people will know I've also been jailed recently in Albany Maximum Prison, which is quite surprising. I never thought I'd see the inside of a maximum prison, considering I've harmed no one or hurt anyone, body or thing. It's all due to this malicious family violence order that's been placed on me 6 months ago. I haven't seen my little boy for 6 months, so this is a fight not just for my son and not just for our country, but this is all countries across the world, all kids across the world, and so it doesn't happen to anyone else, and if I can take one piece of that cherry and help someone prevent it, then great. And hopefully in time Jack will appreciate what I'm doing, because I can tell you this much: the first 2 months of when that court order came through, and they were stating in the order, I have to call a third party if I want to speak to my son. I have to call and arrange this third party if I want to spend 2 hours with my son. Myself and my ex have been split for 6 years. Yeah, Jack's been with me every time R&R, and I've gone through the family courts and just faced nonsense after nonsense, and never was any of my affidavits even looked at and regarded, when another party can write absolute nonsense in an affidavit and seem to get favoured, and that's an understatement. So as I said before, I've had everything dismissed in the family court, through the Commonwealth Custodian group and a beautiful man by the name of Keith Charles, who's gifted me the last piece of the puzzle. And it's something I've known about for a number of years. Didn't know how to implement. It's called being the executor, the occupant of the office of executor for your estate. Your estate being the full capitalised name that you see on your birth certificate. And that's terminology and whatnot I'd like to go into at another date on YouTube here. So getting back, this family domestic violence order, or family violence restraining order, that was placed on me 6 months ago. As I said, after 6 years of being split with my ex-partner. So I've got the family violence order, and there's no wet ink signature as per Bills of Exchange Act 2000. No, I'll have to check that, so I'll have that confused with another act. And I'd like to share that on the screen if I could, but I can't at the minute. So that had no no authority from the get-go, with no wedding signature, but yet it was still acted upon by the police here. So they've since larcened my weapons, and not so long ago, around a month ago now, I was accused of breaching that family violence order. So I happened to, by chance, coming back from a surf, and my ex-partner and little boy were crossing the road. Well, Jack seen my car and recognised it way before I seen them, and the look on his face, said 1,000 words, and I'm like, oh bugger, what do I do? So I've turned around, wound the window down and pointed at Jack, said, I love you, mate, and kept on driving. Well, my ex-partner rang the police and said I breached the family violence order. So, not knowing to me, I'd wondered, prior to this, I'd been into the court here in Albany, and even though that order had no wedding signature, I still rebutted everything in the affidavit from my ex. And I'll tell you, an affidavit is meant to be full with material evidence, and there's not one bit of evidence of violence from myself, let alone to my son, which is, just a kick in the nuts, to say the least, that I'd ever hurt my little boy, So her affidavit was full of, I feel, I think, and I have concerns for, nothing to do with violence whatsoever. And then the magistrate, who not only didn't sign this, or the registrar didn't sign this order, she states, and because I've got the transcript, I don't have to see your evidence, Melanie. I've read your affidavit. So the criminality goes so deep, it's not funny. And that's just the beginning. Yeah, so as I stated before, my ex-partner rang the police and said I breached this family violence order. Well, for anything to be criminal, it needs to be there needs to be intent there. Let's forget the fact that there's no evidence for the restraining order and there's no wedding signature. Let's say that was valid, which it isn't. It has no merit in law. There was never ever intent. There's no way I could have planned the fact that she was crossing the road with Jack at that time, and there's no way in the world, it took all my might not to stop that car and get out and give my boy a hug, because I haven't seen him or spoken to him for 6 months, because I'm not following orders. I don't take orders from other people, mate. There's no one above me but the Creator himself, unless we have some sort of contract, or we're mutual friends and there's some respect there, then it won't be an order. There'll be, and we'll follow it because we have good intentions and we respect each other. Or we've gone into contract and there's been services rendered and payment, and then I'll follow such orders. Anyway, so after that alleged breach, I went to the Mount Barker police station here and inquired about getting my guns back, because I just had everything dismissed in the family court. Well, the chief officer in charge was quite hostile and called me names like sovereign citizen, to which I responded, only a muppet would you term those two words together. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. They just don't go together, mate. And anyone who's done a little bit of research will soon work that out. And there's a reason why they try to label us sovereign citizens. If we accept that label, even if we don't, because I strongly feel that I have been put on the terrorist list, because that's what a sovereign citizen is. They put on the terrorist list because they're deemed as a threat to government. Well, the only threat I am is by due process in law, peace and love, and doing things consistently with due process and to the law. And that's generally God's law, but we have to use some of their paperwork as well. Anyway, so I found out that due to alleged breach, they intended to arrest me. So I did my due diligence, sent letters, hand-delivered letters of my standing as found in the Family Court of Western Australia, falling on deaf ears. They don't know about estate law, which is probate law, or contract law, which is the unholy sea of commerce law. So there's two laws that we're ruled under: commerce law and probate law. And you nullify them and you take your own standing and your estate back. So this copper had no clue, or if he did, which I believe he might be higher up in an order than I care to mention on here, so he possibly does know what I'm on about. But ignorance of the law is no excuse, and he definitely knows that. So I sent him relevant information. I sent him the Bills of Exchange Act, where wet ink signatures must be supplied, and I sent him the Office of Accountable Authority, and I haven't got the title correct all the way there. And his statement was, "I don't care about your personal beliefs." Oh, actually, this was after. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, I was arrested about making those inquiries for my weapons, my guns back. And I informed them of pretty much, I've unincorporated the name. I've had everything dismissed in the family court. Jack is now my property. He's part of my estate until old enough to manage his own affairs. Yeah. Which, they were kind enough and considerate, but I had to give my thumbprints, DNA, handprints, photos, like a common fucking criminal, which I am not. So anyway, that being over with, after about 6 hours, I'm due to go into Albany Magistrates Court on the 28th of October, for which I did. And on presenting to such a courtroom 3, the magistrate at the time, and same one that's been there the whole time, asked if I was Mr. Kellan-Reynolds, to which I replied, no, I'm the occupant of the Office of Executor for the Kellan-John Reynolds estate. And, she said, if you're not that person, along some of these lines, you can remove yourself from my court. To which I said, if you want to speak to that person, I pulled my birth certificate out of the pocket and placed that on the table. And then the security surrounded me and ushered me out of the court, Anyway, that day the magistrate deemed me not to be the person. So the next day I get an email from Mount Barker Police saying, you failed to attend the court on a given day due to the Bail Act. A bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. I'm like, okay. So I send emails. Why are you bothering me? I was deemed not to be that person on the day by the magistrate. This was what I was getting into before. The coppers stated, we don't care about your personal beliefs. We'll use any force necessary to arrest you. So I've rang the Albany Police Station and informed them I'll be in there Monday, first thing in the morning, to help clear the matter up peacefully and honourably. As I stated, I went there Monday to clear the matter up and was arrested. False arrest and false imprisonment. Didn't get to see the magistrate because I did invoke habeas corpus, which should by rights be taken straight up to the magistrate right there and then, and have the matter seen to. But I didn't get to see the magistrate till about 2 o'clock, if I remember right. And went through the same, same song and dance. I actually repeated the words she said to me. So when she asked, "Are you Mr. Reynolds?" I've stated, "We've been through this dance before, ma'am. I'm not that person. I have no respect for the person. I'm the occupant of the office of executor." Anyway, I could bang on about that. That goes back and forth for a bit. I get kicked out again, saying the prosecuting sergeant will determine who I am. And I come back another hour later, and the cop is showing me a photo, pretty rough mugshot, I must say, where my ex-partner signed it, and then another couple of documents, and then stated the fingerprint DNA database has also deemed me to be that person. To which I replied, "That's all opinion, and a fiction can't determine who someone is. I'm stating I'm not that person and have no respect for that person." And the cop has turned around, "I'm only showing you." I said, "Well, I object. That's not evidence." Magistrate entered at this time, and he went on to repeat the same thing as he said to me. And again, I stated, "I object. I'm not that person, and a fiction can't determine a person. That's all opinion, and opinion isn't material evidence." To which I was told to be quiet, which comes a lot. This magistrate loves to leave out due process, natural rights, and the right to procedural fairness, as laid out in common law and God's law and our Constitution. Anyways, I was sent back down to the holding cell, to which the bail act come out, and they wanted me to sign it. But they wanted me to sign as the birth name, Kellan-John Reynolds, when I've been deemed in a higher court not to be that person. So to do such would be fraud, and this is what I stated in the court at the time. Are you attempting to force me to be the name, the legal entity? I will not participate in your fraud, etc., etc. Anyway, they weren't going to let me go until I signed. I had the security of the holding cells trying to coerce me into signing. They come up and said, "Just sign under duress as Kellan-John Reynolds." I'm like, "No, I'm not Kellan-John Reynolds." And to sign on that would not only be fraudulent, but would put me back under her jurisdiction, for which she was attempting to do. Because I would undo everything I've done at the family court, and I'd go under a lower court or that magistrate's jurisdiction. Anyway, they said, "If you don't sign, you're going into the big house, Albany Maximum Prison." I said, "Well, I won't be signing." So lo and behold, they took me off to Albany Maximum Prison, where I got to wear their lovely green trackies and green shirt. A few threats from the fellas next door. I believe they thought I was someone else from Katanning, saying I would need personal protection. I don't need personal protection. Anyway, those lads settled down. Indigenous fellas, a lot of Indigenous fellas inside, unfortunately, and a lot of that meth from all what I was hearing and listening to. It's all meth related inside by the looks, which is another shame. Anyway, around 3 o'clock the next day, so I spent the night in maximum prison, and I had a video conference with the same magistrate. And prior to this, the security or the screws were asking me, "Are you going to sign?" And I'm like, "No, not as that person. I'm happy to sign it, but I won't be signing as that person." So in the video, the magistrate said, "Oh, but I've been informed that you will not sign and you refuse to sign." And I'm like, "No, I haven't refused to sign. I've refused to sign as that person. I'm not that person. I've been deemed not to be that person in a higher court than yours. You are denying me due process in law, procedural fairness, natural rights, etc." Again, fall on deaf ears. This magistrate is a law to herself. And she proceeded to say, "Well, Bail Act 33." Oh, dog, can you go sit down? Rusty, sit down. Good girl. You want to get on TV? On there? Yeah, she proceeded to state the Bail Act and said, if you're not going to sign, then the governor will sign on your behalf. To which they did. So I never signed, but I was released at about an hour later. So that was 2 days in the maximum prison. And then it was ordered that I was to attend the court on the 28th. No, sorry. The 18th of this month, November. To face one account of alleged breach of family violence restraining order, and one account of breach of the Bail Act. I must state, when back at the police station when I was first arrested, the arresting officer and his sidekick was actually present at the court when I was escorted out by the courthouse security, and she was in the foyer and witnessed me being escorted out of that courtroom 3, but yet still done the arrest that I failed to appear. Anyway, so again on the 18th I've presented to face these false, misleading charges, and went through the same rigmarole. Are you that person? Are you Mr. Reynolds? Hang on, I had a few people come with me as the time before, and as I went to enter, just before I got to sit down in front of the magistrate, she says that I had a support person and a witness, yeah. And the magistrate has stated that person at the back can leave this court. And I've said, no, he's my support person. As my right to have a support person, he will be staying. No, that person at the back of the court, leave this court. No. She said, Mr. Reynolds, are you Mr. Reynolds? Trying to talk. And I said, no, that person can stay. Are you Mr. Reynolds? No, I'm not that person. That is, I have no respect of the person. To which she stated, well, if you're not going to behave, you can leave my court. I am behaving, ma'am. I am not that person. That is a misnomer, and I can't think of the term I used at the minute. It'll come to me later. I used another term. But anyway, I was kicked out of the court and told that she will call me back at 2 o'clock. However, I was restrained at the top, well, not restrained, but prevented from leaving the top court, even though it was lunchtime, around midday, and she wasn't going to call me back till 2 o'clock, so I wasn't allowed to go for lunch. So now we have the courthouse security acting as a police force, which they have no right to do. But we hear it time and time again, just following orders. Which is what I spoke to a sergeant yesterday in Denmark. Pretty much the same thing. But that's another show. Anyway, back to the courthouse. I was called in at 2:50 on the 18th of November. And as I approached with my support person witness, the security stated no one's allowed in. No support person, no witness. I was saying, really? Well, that's interesting. And he also said, we're not even allowed in. So no security was allowed in there, and no witnesses. Yet, as I put in an affidavit. The magistrate states that there's 2 witnesses there. Those witnesses are not witnesses at all. They were part of the proceedings, which again is highly illegal. But this magistrate runs her own court. She believes it's her court, not the people's court, not what our forefathers died for, and we as taxpayers have paid for. She believes it's her court, and acts just as such, that it's her court. So again, this time, everything I stated was denied of me. I read out the fact that everything had been dismissed in the family court, and then I read the Family Law Act, or Family Rules, or Act 175 1B, where it states if the family court has ruled that a person or authority can spend time with the said child, then the family violence order is null and void. And I haven't got the terms exactly right there, but it states once that family, I had everything dismissed in the family court, so then any violence restraining order is null and void. And I read that onto the court record. Magistrate turned around and said, I don't remember making any such order about family violence, which she's the one who initiated the whole lot. So again, we have a crook of all crooks in the Albany Magistrates Court. A low court, mind you. Not as high as the family court, but she's denying what a higher court has ruled. So here we are, the fight continues. And I will keep you informed as where I proceed next. I have things in play and just waiting to hear back to see if it's been accepted and where I go and my next line of defence. I have issued affidavit to the arresting officer the second time. I've still got more affidavits to do. So in time I'll do, the topic will be affidavits on YouTube here. I hope to get a few people in, different mentors that I've worked with who have a lot more wisdom than myself and can share their expertise so others can build confidence and do the same thing. And one thing I will assure you, don't be afraid whatsoever to step into the court and fight your peace, because he who doesn't stand up for his rights, it's a maxim of law, has none. So I'll help anyone I possibly can. I was hoping to be, the 18th. I was hoping to have this. I gave ample opportunity for this magistrate to be an honour, and she's failed each time, and it's quite hard to take at times. And the 18th, that weekend, the 21st would have been Jack's birthday, so I was hoping to have it cleared up, so I could see my boy, but not to be. So affidavits, I'm no expert at them. I'm getting better at them, and I will have people on to help present such things so others can learn from, and how we apply it in Australia, and how you actually paint a picture on doing an affidavit, and then your attachments or appendixes or exhibitions. Painting the picture is the hard step until you start to get a bit of a hang of it, and I'm still getting there. But I have 2 people that I fall back on, Rick and Keith, and I trust them, like no other. They've helped me immensely over a few years now, quite a few years. Another beautiful man who's no longer with us, who helped me a lot, Dad's landing pad, Ray Thomas. I will dedicate a show to Ray at one stage in the future. He done some marvellous work, but he's never quite went down the rabbit hole as much as I have to where it's led me to now. And I couldn't persuade him otherwise, which is quite a lot in truth circles. People are open, but only open to a certain amount, which is wrong. You've got to continue to leave that door open. When something fails, find out why, and then shoot down the next. And I'll love to caution, or will caution everyone. There's a lot of bullshit out there. So much bullshit that you can get tied in and locked in for a long time. And if you're running on fear, you're not going to work your way out of that bullshit. Yeah, so I will do meditation and from the heart centers and pieces on that in time. But you want to rise out of that fear, because you can't. That fear is left brain, not right brain. There's the devil's energy, and there's God influence, or the universe, or source, or whatever you're comfortable with there. You want to step out of the fear, because that's a low vibration, and it's really hard. You'll miss your own intuition, and you'll be hard to determine what the truth is. For argument's sake, the straw man. People have heard of that. Yes, it's got a lot of truth in it, which is why it gets people suckered in. But I feel and believe, and from what I've listened to on other truthers, is it's a psyop by a three-letter agency, deliberately put out there to, they seen this coming. This was all planned, so they kind of push forward with little pieces to get people in early. So be careful where you go. A lot of people out there telling the truth, but they don't have the remedy in their hand. I don't have that. I've been reluctant to do a YouTube channel because I've been waiting for this full remedy, and I believe the powers that be know exactly my intention. That's why I'm copping a hard time, because I want that remedy in my hot hand, because I see so many people fucking dribble on and don't have the remedy, or a lot of people saying just stand under the KJV 1611, which I believe you can do. I truly believe that. But you'll get a hard time for that, and you'll spend more time in jail than you need to. And then there's the risk of being a madman, because there's people in these truth circles that have been locked up, institutionalized, and forcibly injected with anti-psychs and whatnot. So I'd err on the air of caution. Do your homework. Find out what your truth is. Discern things yourself. There's so much out there. And I know there's a lot of good work. There's can't think of Peter's last name at the minute. I will try and get him on at time. He does a lot of good work with affidavits, and it's slightly kind of where I first started off with, following. He put me on to Alphonse Fagioli, an American dude. And done a lot of affidavits through him, but didn't quite learn enough. And it was all about what I didn't know about the occupant of the office of executor. I was trying to work out how to implement that, because I've got the books here on it and whatnot, and just did not know how to implement that. So I thought I'd go about the affidavits and whatnot, and then hopefully the rest will fall in place. It did, because I met Keith through Dawn Kelly, which is another beautiful person, does great work, and has a YouTube channel as well. So I urge you to check that out, guys. She's got good material there. Known Dawn for a number of years now. We met on the Kingdom of Australia group. Stephen Spire's work, the white papers, a lot of good information in the white papers. And the only thing I would caution on is there's not a roadmap to remedy. You know, that's where the KJV is remedy, but it's fraught with dangers. You know, and there's where we get a really good roadmap from the Commonwealth Custodians Group and Keith's work, which I've used and implemented, and it's what I stand on, and what I'll be standing on in the Supreme Court to undo this bullshit from a lower court, you know, which has no merit in law. Anyway, I will be have a meeting with the Commonwealth Custodian soon, but I wanted to jump on here and do my first little YouTube thingamabob and upload it, see how we go. Yeah, so anyone who happens to get this, if anyone does, topics that you'd like to cover, I'm hoping to cover news articles, the weather manipulation, which by the way guys, if you told me this 7-8 years ago, I probably would have said you're full of shit. But then I was right into clean eating, health and wellness, and anyone who's been down the health and wellness route and listened to podcasts and will be well aware of how much the food industry, or let alone the so-called health industry, is corrupted. And they're corrupted by the same big tier mob that you see if you're following any circles, certain families. I'm not going to say them on here because there's buzzwords we want to stay away from. Which brings me back to those truthers that I have a trusted bunch that I listen to. There was quite a number, but due to censorship, a lot of them have moved on to either BitChute or Rumble or likes. There's a number are hanging on, and because the way they go about their wording, and they don't add link, which is news to me recently, is they don't put links in the chat or on there. In the chat's okay, I believe, but on their page itself they don't add a link to another site. They don't share screens, which, you know, I'm going to give it a crack to start with and see how we go, because I'd like to share screens, especially when I start to interview people. So I'm hoping to interview who now I call friends, good friends: Anita, Rick Swifty, Keith Charles, Dawn, and then I will approach others where I've done my meditation and NLP, and hope to attract them on as another topic, you know, and get away from some of the not so uplifting stuff. Yeah, what else could we talk about? I don't know. If anyone happens to get this, put something in the chat, topics, what you would like to learn, and yeah, if I don't know, I'm not going to say I know for sure. If I don't, I do know Keith's work. Keith Charles' work works, I know for a fact. And I'm this close from that last bit. This fucking close. Taken many years. Alright people, love yous, and hope to see you again.